A brazen robbery attempt caught on camera. Tonight, Atlanta police are looking for a man who burst into a business looking for cash. He didn't get the reaction he was looking for.
Everybody get down! Get out of the money! It's got the money!
When would-be criminals are caught on camera fumbling their way through ridiculously ill-conceived heists, it definitely provides a good dose of amusement.
Really scary because it could happen to anybody.
From hilarious disguises to dumb errors, these robberies serve as a real-life comedy show. Here are 20 failed robbery attempts caught on camera. Number 1. The Shirtless Robber. A man armed with a hammer stormed inside of a store causing havoc and in a fit of rage sprayed bear repellent on staff before turning his attention to the display cases. That's where he went on a violent hell-bent spree of destroying everything he could get his hands on. Rather than quietly allowing the marauder to wreak havoc, 3 brave employees chose to confront him. In the video, 3 men can be seen engaging the suspect with punches, kicks, and even a large stick used to immobilize him, barely moments before they managed to pursue him out of the store. As he approached the front door, one of the workers grabbed the man's top, causing him to wiggle out of it in an attempt to flee, and as he ran down the street, his pants fell down, exposing him to the person filming the video. The relentless staff pursued him, confronting him once more before he finally fled. Number 2. Embarrassed Robber. When a burglar attempted to intimidate customers and employees at an Atlanta nail salon, this ill-conceived plot backfired, landing him in a comically uncomfortable scenario. CCTV footage shows a ridiculous portrayal of this inexperienced thief. He came into the salon during the afternoon with his hand disguised beneath a bag, demanding that everyone get down on the floor and hand him their possessions. His forceful approach did not frighten anyone that was present. Undaunted, the unskilled burglar then changed tactics, targeting a male employee behind the counter, hoping for a more positive response. To his dismay, the calm staffer simply answered a ringing phone and strolled away, displaying a casual disregard for the crisis. As the robber's desperation grew, he spotted a salon's female guest standing near her seat, lifting her hands up in feigned surrender and making a leisurely leave. It became immediately evident to him that his great plan of departing with a large sum of money was a fruitless fantasy. Number 3. Fighting 2 robbers. A homeowner in Montreal bravely defended himself against 2 balaclava-clad robbers who had broken into his garage. The courageous confrontation occurred late at night and would be filmed by the home surveillance cameras. Burglars dressed in black were caught on camera breaking into the garage and pulling white plastic bags from their pockets. Their theft would be cut short when the resident, who was only wearing orange board shorts, charged onto the scene. The homeowner charged at them, using bare hands to quickly overpower one of them. Panic would ensue as both of the perpetrators sought to flee through the same door they'd forced open, and during everything, the resident yelled for someone to call 911 while dragging one of the intruders back into the garage by himself. The identity of the man was revealed during the ensuing battle as the mask was dislodged, and because of his quick thinking, the homeowner locked the garage door, preventing the second one from returning and posing additional threat. He defended his property and preserved the principle of justice in the face of danger in this incredible act of bravery. Number 4. Robber knocks out fellow robber. This footage depicts a comical yet tragic occurrence in which a hapless thief mistakenly knocks out his own partner while attempting to break into a London apartment. The video begins with 3 people arriving on a motorcycle and entering into a confined space shortly before midnight. One of the riders stays on the bike, and the other 2 dismount wearing helmets, and the other a beanie. The man in the beanie takes the initiative, smashing a window, and then the situation takes a tragically comical turn when his less-than-skilled teammate hurls his own brick while his companion is still there. He accidentally strikes him in the head. Witnessing the disaster, the security guard returns empty-handed and quickly informs someone via radio. Concerned for the injured accomplice, he checks on him and gently rolls him into the recovery position, demonstrating an unexpected sense of responsibility. As the disoriented and battered accomplice regains his consciousness, he is sure to regret his choice of criminal companions. Number 5. Wheelchair Robber. In this video, a handicapped man attempts to rob a jewelry store using an uncommon manner. The defendant, who had cerebral palsy, had no use of his hands and planned a somewhat unusual robbery tactic, and in his courageous venture, he communicated his intentions to the store staff by placing a threatening note on the counter with his foot. It commanded that they hand over everything quietly and warned against bringing attention. The store's camera would capture the entire brazen act. Video surveillance saw the wheelchair-bound young man's intentional actions. He pointed a plastic toy gun at the store's counter with surprising accuracy, secured between his bare feet. A store employee, understandably shocked, commented on the authenticity of the fake pistol, triggering an urgent contact with the authorities. Another person inside would notice that it was going on and immediately contacted 911. Law enforcement arrived quickly and apprehended the teenager. Number 6. Woman kicks robber out. A woman in Brazil bravely documented a terrifying encounter when a home intruder broke into her house while she was dancing. In the video, she could be seen dancing gleefully in her home before an unidentified male appears. He eventually decides to enter her house and stands awkwardly in front of her. Initially, she appears calm, but her demeanor shifts as the intruder attempts to seize her. She reacts quickly, chasing him away and retaliating by kicking and punching him, even doing a mid-air karate kick, all the while screaming at the man to cause a panic. She later told local media that she had released the video of her disrupted dance lesson in order to raise awareness amongst other women. Number 7. Box robber. A man attempted to rob a phone repair place in Miami by masking his identity with a cardboard box. However, when he opened the box to inspect his bounty, he accidentally exposed his face to the surveillance camera, and the plot takes an unexpected turn. According to the store's owner, the robber managed to make off with 19 iPhones and a considerable quantity of $8,000 in cash, totaling a heist valued at $15,000. Because of the camera's viewpoint, it was impossible to determine his identity. That was until he lifted up the box for a closer look at the phones that he was stealing. The owner then distributed photographs of the crime throughout the retail center where the store is located, asking the assistance of the local community in identifying the burglar. The robber would then be seen drinking with friends at a nearby liquor store, and the owner was motivated to phone the police, who quickly caught up with the suspect. Number 8. Clumsy robber. A surveillance camera in a convenience store filmed an uncomfortable and bizarre episode that involved a would-be robber. The video painstakingly chronicled the entire sequence of events, providing a virtually comedic play-by-play of the foiled robbery. The culprit approaches the store's counter, clearly determined to make an illegal intention. He boldly pulls out what appears to be a firearm. However, fate steps in an unexpected way. As he brandishes the handgun, the poor crook loses his grip, allowing it to drop from his fingers and flip over the counter. The cashier swiftly regains her calm after being frightened by the sight of the weapon. She retrieves it, and realizing the hopelessness of the situation, the robber decides to make a fast getaway. Number 9. Careless robber. When committing a heist with a handgun, it's best to maintain a firm grasp on your firearm. Corey T. Phillips, a young man from Paducah, Kentucky, learned this lesson the hard way when he tried to hold up a county inn and suites. Surveillance cameras would film the incident, which serves as a startling example of a failed robbery. The video shows him armed with a revolver, entering the place and confronting the woman at the front desk, demanding money. He coerces the terrified person to hand over cash, and then carelessly sets his rifle on the counter after successfully acquiring the money. This seemingly insignificant error would prove to be his undoing. The quick-thinking receptionist seized the weapon and proudly aimed it at her would-be attacker, taking the perfect opportunity for a role reversal. The tables have been turned, and Phillips is now vulnerable and at the mercy of the person he wanted to victimize. Panicked and aware that the tide was turned against him, he runs away from the scene, and unfortunately, his freedom would be cut short as law enforcement responded quickly, and he was eventually caught. Number 10. Cowboy saves the day. Before shamelessly brandishing a pistol and committing a robbery, one would think it prudent to analyze the individuals in the business. An apparently fearless assailant had to learn that the hard way. This attack begins as he approaches the register brandishing his revolver, ready to commit his crime, but unknown to him, a man wearing a cowboy hat stood there, obviously waiting for the right moment. As the would-be robber lost focus, the man in the hat seized the opportunity and raced forward, tackling and disarming him, forcing the gun to drop to the floor. Another employee then jumps to their feet and takes the firearm. The assailant dashed for the door, shirtless and clearly disoriented, but his getaway was abruptly thwarted by a brave employee who had plainly decided they were not going to let him get away. The incident is a poignant reminder of the unpredictability of a real-life situation as the bravery that may emerge in the face of danger. Number 11. Emotional criminal. In many different of life situations, the spectrum of human emotions, similar to the 5 stages of grief, can be witnessed. One example of this may be seen in surveillance camera footage from a cell phone store in Houston, Texas. The footage features an armed man named John Bell who enters the store calmly, proceeding to demand cash from an employee. That employee refuses his demands and hurries out of the store with 2 customers in a split-second decision, shutting Bell inside. The young man realizes that he's stuck, setting the stage for a dramatic series of events. He tries every means available in his desperate search for freedom, resorting to blasting the lock and kicking the door, but all of his efforts become unsuccessful. In a time of complete weakness, he switches from violence to a more humble approach, asking and praying for release. Even heavenly intervention seemed to elude him as he struggled with his predicament. Time would soon become his enemy, and his ordeal came to an end when the police arrived. They quickly arrest him, putting a stop to his dramatic journey from demands to sorrow. Number 12. Bad Optimus Prime. An Optimus Prime mask is probably not the first thing that comes to mind when you think about scary disguises in criminal history. However, this peculiar disguise became famous in this instance, where Ryan Flores, a would-be thief at a Starbucks in Fresno, attempted a crime while armed with a knife and what appeared to be a real weapon in the bizarre situation that took an unexpected turn. He approaches the counter dressed in an Optimus Prime disguise. He had no idea that his plans were about to be interrupted by one brave customer who then tackles him from behind using a metal chair as a weapon. The fight that ensued was nothing short of chaotic and hazardous. During the altercation, Flores and the customer incurred multiple injuries. Flores did manage to escape, but his freedom was short-lived as law enforcement quickly sprang into action, hunting him down and apprehending him. This case exemplifies how even the most unusual of disguises cannot protect a criminal from the consequence of their deeds. It also shows an individual's extraordinary bravery in the face of peril, as one customer's quick response had averted a potentially deadly crime, leading to the capture and arrest. Number 13. Crime Gone Violent. This security footage is horrifying and reveals the planned actions of 4 men who descended upon a battery shop on 2 motorcycles. The strategy became clear when 2 of them violently entered the shop, while the remaining 2 stood outside on guard. Their sinister aim soon became evident as they held up shop staff and customers hostage, forcing them to hand over cash, and the criminals departed the shop after securing their ill-gotten gains. However, they were unaware that a man, hidden within a small chamber in the shop, had been biding his time. Taking advantage of the opportunity, he then opened fire, injuring one of the men. The remaining 3 managed to avoid the shower of bullets and fled away. The injured criminal took the brunt of the gunfire, suffering severe injury. He can be seen in footage attempting to leave before fainting on the adjacent service road. In the wake of his dramatic episode, the criminal case was registered and a relentless manhunt was initiated to track down his 3 accomplices. Number 14. A Fast Clerk. When an armed thief targeted a liquor store in Marionville, Missouri, he got more than he bargained for. Having no idea the man behind the register was John Lewis Alexander, a war veteran and former jail guard. When the suspect entered the establishment, he looked unaffected, casually smoking a cigarette, and the situation then takes a dramatic change. In accordance with the establishment's guidelines, Alexander told the man to put the cigarette out. However, he refused and then brandished a firearm. Alexander's military training and calm temperament came into play. Unfazed and uninterested, he then slapped the weapon aside with lightning-quick reflexes, pulling out his own weapon and aiming it at the would-be criminal's face. In an instant, the tables had turned. When confronted with a determined and fearless defense, the criminal had little choice but to admit defeat and retreat from the store, abandoning his criminal plan. This incident shows the value of training, expertise, and unflinching resolution in the face of peril. John Lewis Alexander's actions, molded by his military training and experience as a guard, had proven not only the ability to defend himself, but also the resilience of a community that would not be mistreated. Number 15. Father and Son Defense. In a fortuitous turn of events, 2 would-be criminals chose the incorrect store as they attempted a quick cash grab in 2017. The incident took place at the Zcom cell phone store in Arlington, Texas, and the criminals had no idea they were about to face some tough opposition from the shop's owner and his son. Armed and determined, the would-be criminals brandished a weapon and vaulted over the store's counter, keen on carrying out their plan. The crooks' expectations were crushed in a couple of moments. The owner's son, with extraordinary bravery and quick thought, had intervened, refusing to surrender to the threat. They proceeded decisively to disrupt the criminals' plans, effectively overpowering and detaining him on the floor with the help of his father. During the argument, the second suspect produced his own firearm, but fortunately, the criminal did not fire on this occasion. With their ill-conceived scheme unraveling in front of their eyes, they decided to run, exiting the store without causing any damage. Despite the shop's occupants' best efforts to apprehend one of the thieves, both of them eventually managed to get away. This riveting event served as a sharp reminder of the unpredictable and often courageous reactions that can occur in the face of danger. Number 16. 80-year-old defends against 4 criminals. In the world of crime, the phrase "play stupid games, win stupid prizes" has come to life when a would-be criminal attempted to rob a liquor store in California. This ended up in some catastrophic results, and it's a fascinating monument to the consequences of criminal deeds and the tenacity of people who refuse to be victimized. In the video, you see a vehicle pull up to the store, and the store's owner, 80-year-old Craig Cope, was no stranger to the dangers of the trade. His intuition would heighten, and he braced himself for the worst. As the criminal stormed into the business, he raised an assault rifle and pointed it directly at Cope, who stayed firm behind the counter. The would-be thief had barely finished his first sentence when the owner sprung into action. Cope fired a single shot at his target, striking him in the arm. The man, then wounded, left the scene, seeking cover in a getaway car that was filled with additional accomplices. The subsequent turn of events would lead to the arrest of all 4 suspects at a hospital, where they sought treatment for injuries received during the botched heist. It ended the narrative that began with criminal intent, but concluded with a severe lesson in the consequences of their actions. Number 17. Not forklift certified. A group of unskilled burglars used a forklift in a rushed attempt to steal an ATM machine, only to botch the operation and leave the machinery abandoned in the middle of the road. Numerous California Highway Patrol policemen would respond, and a subsequent pickup truck crash with the stranded ATM added to the confusion. After ripping the ATM from its housing, the first suspect, disguised in construction gear, attempted to avoid detection, carrying the hefty machine into his accomplice's truck. However, things took a turn when they lost the ATM during their frantic escape. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Office would release a statement about the event. The abandoned ATM machine had caused a traffic jam, as well as an early morning collision, highlighting the haphazard character of the overall endeavor. Number 18. Wig and clown pants. Dennis Hawkins became embroiled in a web of misfortunes in Pittsburgh, which resulted in a fairly unique and humorous crime. He had adopted an unusual approach to bank crime, donning a blonde wig and clownish pants, a decision which would eventually land him in jail. Hawkins allegedly stole a BB gun from Walmart and then brandished it with menacing flair during his botched bank heist. He demanded money from the bank personnel with dramatic flair, befitting his unusual costume, before fleeing with an undisclosed sum. A scenario that could have been lifted from a comedy sketch. His exit did not go unnoticed. Soon after the bank crime, an onlooker from a nearby gas station observed a man who resembled the flamboyant criminal, and the alleged mastermind was attempting to flee in a vehicle, probably to avoid detection. His ambitions would be foiled because he now bore the telltale traces of a crimson dye stain, the result of an explosive dye pack that was disguised within the stolen cash. He decided to steal a parked car out of desperation, but the intended victim was not about to let him go. She quickly exited the vehicle, clutching her keys, and then called the police. He was still inside the gas station when the police arrived. Number 19. Oil Pit Incident. A petrol station in southern Brazil accidentally became the setting for an amateur misadventure, instigated by a pair of criminals whose antics were filmed on surveillance camera. The remarkable ordeal was marked by a sequence of unfortunate events that ended in a dramatic chain of accidents. The 2 would-be criminals arrived at the gas station on a motorcycle and pretended to be regular customers, asking the attendant to fill their bike with gas. The thief then searched the counter, stealing cash from a drawer and concealing it in his backpack. With their loot in hand, the accomplice revved the engine, in preparation for a quick escape. Their hasty departure would turn out to be a comedy of errors as they careened into an open pit, approximately 5 feet below ground level at the petrol station. The unexpected fall into the pit confused the hapless offenders. Their misadventure was far from over, though, as they took a trek into yet another pit where they went down the path. The resulting crash put an end to the adventure, and responding quickly to these strange episodes, military police would catch up with them soon after. Number 20. ATM Criminal. This bungled burglary attempt played out when a man's ill-conceived plans to steal an ATM from a store was filmed on camera in all of its humiliating splendor. The dim-witted would-be thief arrived in the middle of the night with a stolen vehicle and a chain, ready to embark on a wicked mission, but in a rush he had attached the chain to the ATM. However, a critical omission was in the works. The unwitting man then went outside to start the car, fully expecting the ATM to follow him as he drove away, and herein lay the ludicrous twist in his doomed adventure. The perplexed burglar proceeded to drive away, assuming that he had the ATM in his possession, oblivious to the fact that the chain was not connected to his vehicle. In truth, he had left the ATM behind, safely attached in the store, emphasizing his criminal stupidity even more.